This is Kevin King, and I'm very excited to talk about ChatGPT today and tell you some ways that you can use it. Everybody can use this. There's really a lot of different ways to use it, and it's been all over the news. A lot of people are jumping into it, but I'm going to show you some ways that you can really be productive and why it is taking off so fast. Now, if you just look at the news from yesterday, you can see Alphabet, which is the parent of Google, loses $100 billion after their AI robot, which is like ChatGPT, gave the wrong answer in an ad. This is huge, and it has big implications, obviously. So to lose $100 billion in a day is pretty spectacular. So that's why we really have to pay attention to this, and you should start using it almost no matter what you do. It's a great learning tool. It can really shortcut your learning, and let's jump right into it and just show you some examples of how. So I'm just going to give you the first example here is really like a learning example, and I think this is a great educational example. So if we go and we take a quick look in Google and we just do in a simplified way, describe how the human heart works. You've got a lot of suggestions here. You've got a lot of information here. You can pick one of these, and it gives you kind of a technical answer of what it does in the atrium and how it pumps to the left ventricle, so on. Not super simplified. So if somebody, let's just say you want to teach a sixth grader how to do this. Let's see what ChatGPT would give us. Of course, you know, we've got a lot of answers and a lot of options here. So let's go over here, and all you do is put your same query in here in a simplified way, describe how the human heart works. And then you just hit the button here, and it will start to give you an answer. So this is still going to be, to me, a little bit less than simplified. It's pretty simplified. The human heart is a muscle that pumps blood through the body, has 4 chambers: the right atrium, the right ventricle, the left atrium, and the left ventricle. And then it really gives you really 4 pretty short paragraphs on how it works. Oxygenated blood returns to the heart. So I'm going to show you how you can get a more simplified or a more elegant answer. So let's go ahead and just say, now use a metaphor to explain. And let's say you want to teach a 6th grader or a 6th grade biology class. So if you want to learn things that are complicated, and let's just say that the heart is fairly complicated if you consider what a cardiologist makes, now use a metaphor to explain. And this is going to break it down into a more simplified way that people could understand. So think of the heart as the central station or a pump house, similar to a train station. The blood is like a passenger in the train, and different chambers of the heart are like the train tracks and platforms. The right atrium is like the platform where the train blood arrives, which is the low in oxygen and needs to be refreshed. The right ventricle is like the engine that takes the train to the lungs, where it picks up fresh oxygen just like a passenger getting off at the station to breathe in fresh air. The left atrium is like a platform where the refreshed train returns, and the left ventricle is like an engine that takes this train to its final destination, which is the rest of the body. The heart's electrical system is like a conductor that makes sure the trains are running on time and efficiently. So the heart acts like a central station, constantly receiving, renewing, and sending out blood trains to deliver vital oxygen and nutrients throughout the body. So you could say, this is the great thing about ChatGPT, is that it remembers what your previous questions were, so you can just keep asking questions. And as opposed to having to do a new Google search and then go to, which it doesn't remember your previous search in the same way. Google does track you with cookies and things like that, so it kind of knows what you like, but it's not like this, where it's really going to give you a very specific answer. So let's say, give me another example. So we have, give me another example. Okay, here's another one. Think of the heart as a tireless worker, like a mailman delivering letters to various destinations. The blood is like the mail that needs to be delivered to different parts of the body. So, and then it goes through the right atrium is like the sorting room, where the blood arrives and gets sorted into the right ventricle. So it very much makes this relatable. So if you were a teacher, for instance, and you wanted to teach someone, you could make lesson plans for this. Or you could create a book to make lesson plans for an entire sixth grade class for all of Virginia, for instance. So, I mean, you can really use this, but it also helps to understand the topic that you're talking about. So the more complex topics, if you have more knowledge, you'll know better questions to ask. So let's say, for instance, that we wanted to write a blog article. So this is where you could use it for efficiency. If you were trying to use a blog to educate consumers on your product, and let's say you're selling air filters, for instance. So if you want to sell air filters, you may talk about how to get cleaner air in the home. So what are some of the ways to get cleaner air in the home? So I'm going to just come up with what are the benefits? I know a way to get cleaner air in the home because I understand this topic a little bit, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask, rather than start from scratch and just start typing, I'm going to ask ChatGPT a question that is, what are the benefits of running the fan all the time on your HVAC system? So it's going to write something out for me, or an outline, and I can expand on the things that I think need expanding, and then I can go in and I can improve these things based on my knowledge, and I know better questions to ask based on the knowledge that I have. So let's take a quick look at this. So what I'm trying to do is outline the benefits. So let's say I want to make a Facebook post that says how to improve your air quality in your home instantly. So running the fan on your HVAC system, the heating, venting, and air conditioning system, has several benefits. Improved air quality. By running the fan continuously, the air in your home is constantly being circulated and filtered, which can help remove allergens, dust, and other particles from the air. So if I'm selling air filters, not only would I bring up this article that could improve the air quality, I would say, and if you also really, so once somebody reads this article, I could say, if you really want to improve your air quality, check out, I'll do another article at the bottom. I would say, find out the benefits of having a better air filter, which will also improve your air quality. So by combining these two, you can tie this in to basically a marketing funnel that helps you make sales. So you're educating the consumers in an easy way, telling them an easy way to improve their air quality, and then you're giving them a solution to even upgrade air quality by changing their air filters to a higher level of air filtration. So let's go ahead and read a couple more of these. Increase energy efficiency. This is the third point. Running the fan continuously can help reduce the workload on your HVAC system, which can increase the efficiency and lower the energy consumption. There's a note at the bottom. It says, however, it's important to note that running the fan continuously will also increase your energy consumption. So it's a trade-off between indoor air quality and energy efficiency. It's best to consult with a professional HVAC technician to determine if continuous fan operation is the best option for your specific needs and situation. Well, that's contrary to point number 3. So basically, I can just say, okay, let's see, expand. So I could say expand on point 3, or I could say elaborate on point 3, and it's going to understand me because it's natural language. So I just go ahead and hit expand on point 3. Sure, let me explain point 3. Increase the efficiency. When the fan runs continuously, it helps reduce the workload on the HVAC system's compressor, which is the component that consumes more energy, or the most energy. And anyway, it goes into all the benefits of lower energy bills and everything else like that. By having more knowledge and bringing up more knowledge, you may actually learn something even if you already know it. One of the questions I may ask is this because starting up when the when a house is very hot, if you start up the AC, it's going to work very hard to get it down to that temperature. So if you had the fan running, it's going to keep it at a lower temperature for longer. So if I ask that question, it's going to say yes. That's why you're going to reduce your energy bills overall. And then you can ask questions like, well, how much does it cost to run this for the entire month? And it'll give you an answer. It's very interesting. Let's look at some other possible uses for this. Say you're a venture capitalist and you want to invest in something like blockchain or NFTs. So if you don't understand those, like recently with FTX, obviously it should have been explained to some people. So this would be something where you can ask better questions, you can call in an expert, but you've already learned, give me a simplified explanation of blockchain using metaphors. Okay, so we've got give me a simplified explanation of blockchain using metaphors. So if you were just investing for yourself in the market, and you've seen everything happening with blockchain, you may say, hey, I really need to find out more about this. So let me come here, find out some more about this. So at least you're going to have the basics. So it goes into blockchain technology can be difficult to understand, but using metaphors can help simplify the concept. Here are two examples. A public ledger. Think of blockchain as a public ledger that keeps all the records of transactions, just like a physical ledger. Each page of the ledger represents a block, and each block contains a list of transactions, just like a ledger. Okay, so this is a little more complicated, but then it goes into a chain of beads. Imagine a chain of beads with each bead representing a block in the chain. Each bead contains information. Once the bead is added to the chain, it cannot be removed or altered. It creates a secure, transparent record for all transactions, just like the blockchain. These metaphors can help illustrate the blockchain. So it's pretty good, but it can do better. Give me another example. And then it goes into a secure digital vault. Imagine a digital vault that is protected by multiple locks, with each lock representing a block in the blockchain. To add a new transaction to the vault, multiple locks must be opened and verified, creating a secure and transparent record. Just like a physical vault, once the transaction is added, it cannot be altered or deleted, creating a permanent, unaltered history of all transactions within the vault. This is similar to how a blockchain operates, with each block in the chain representing a verified transaction and creating a secure and transparent record for all the data stored in the blockchain. So it's a pretty good explanation. The better you know about this, the better questions you're going to be able to ask about it. So let's say, how are transactions verified? So if you know a little bit more, this might be a more intelligent question you can ask. So transactions in the blockchain are verified through a process known as consensus. This process ensures all the participants in the network agree on the state of the blockchain and ensures that each transaction is valid and legitimate. There are several methods for reaching a consensus, but the most commonly used are listed here: proof of work, proof of stake, delegated. And then you could go in and say, give me metaphor examples of each. Okay, so here's the first example. A group of judges. Think of the blockchain network as a group of judges who must agree on the validity of a transaction. Each judge checks the transaction against a set of rules, and if they all agree the transaction is valid, it's added to the blockchain. Just like a judge's verdict, it's added to the record books. So these are some pretty good examples where I think they do a good job explaining it. So you can see that this is a great way to learn. It's a great way to research. It's a great way if you're going to write articles. You have all this content and you can expand on the content very simply. And the difference is, if I were researching in Google, I have to go in and check all of these examples, and then I have, sometimes I'm going to click back, so hopefully, Google has done a good job vetting these, but, it's vetted by links and things like that. So there's a lot of things that go into giving SEO its authority to get to the front page. And we hope that the best results get to the top, but there's certain topics that are very confusing. ChatGPT may get it wrong, but if you learn to ask the right questions, you can get it to get to the answer quicker, I think, than you can by Googling. And that's why Google saw this as such a huge threat, is because I think some people are experts at Googling and getting information, and they are the ones who really know how to use information. And I think the same goes for ChatGPT. So once you learn how to ask the questions, start with the topic maybe that you know, and there's probably some things about that topic that you're an expert in, but maybe there's some things where you can widen your knowledge and you could really widen your expertise, and you would know the things that you don't understand as well. And that's why a lot of expert fields are so specific. Like, you can be a doctor, but then there's also a cardiologist who has a specialty. So if you can widen your expertise, you can make yourself a lot more valuable. And if you can find a way, there are integrations and things that they're rolling out here where you can use GPT to connect to other things, such as other services. You can connect it to a website, so they can give that website can use this to give customers more specific information and to give them better answers quicker. So they're going to want to have that expertise or a finely tuned version of ChatGPT, say for if you go to an air filter site. It's a very confusing industry because they have what's called the nominal size, which is a rounded size, which most manufacturers use, and the actual size, which is the actual measured dimensions. And these can be rounded up or down, so it can be extremely confusing. And if we look at an example of trying to search for what is the size of a particular filter, we come down, I gave a product model number on a carrier filter here, and on the first page, the very first answer is right here, and it's got the correct answer here, which is pretty good. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I've seen this rotated where Amazon was the first answer, but they have the wrong size. So Google changes their algorithm so often it can be hard to know exactly what the right answer is. And this may just be ranked here first because it's the best price. So it's hard to say how sometimes they do it, but you can see here's another one that has the exact size and everything. So you can feel pretty confident because the first couple have the same thing, that they probably have the right dimensions listed. So let's go in, and if we look at it in ChatGPT, you would think it would be able to find this, but it's a very specific knowledge. Air filters are, so it doesn't know what it is. Could you please provide more context? And we're going to do the same question. What is the size of the carrier? So now we're going to give a more specific. We're giving the brand. We're giving what it is, an air purifier, and we're going to ask that question more specifically. And let's see if we can find the answer. Doesn't have that specific information. I'd recommend contacting the manufacturer or their website. So now if we ask the question a little differently, let's say carrier performance series germicidal air purifier, and we give the cabinet number. And let's go ahead and re-ask this question and say, what is the replacement filter? This carrier, it's an air cabinet, and this is the cabinet that contains the filter, so we're going to ask what the replacement filter is for that. And now it is giving us the incorrect answer. So it's giving us a filter that is not going to be compatible for that. So sometimes, and you wouldn't know that unless you had that specific knowledge. So there are some areas where it doesn't have all the best information, and there's a saying they used to say is trust but verify. So you can trust that a lot of the results are going to be good, but when it really matters or is really important, like if you're going to spend the money to get something shipped to you and you may have to pay for return shipping, or just go through the hassle of not having your filter on time, then you would want to make sure that you double check some of this information. So like I said, when you have specific knowledge, it can be it can be better than Google, but then sometimes Google is still better. But even with Google, they don't always come up with the best results first either. So this is a good example of you need to verify the information that you're looking at, but it is a great resource to help you expand, and it has very good information on a lot of topics. So for instance, one more final example I'm going to give you, and it's being used a lot for programming, and it's very good at that. And let's just say I say give me the HTML code for a website pop-up banner. So that's a good question to ask, but the thing is that if you're not a programmer, then you may not have everything that you need, and you may need to have more specific knowledge in order to figure out whether that is right or whether it is not. So when you're writing code for a website, you may need to use HTML, JavaScript, and CSS for the formatting, and JavaScript to make things happen. So unless you understand what's being written, you may not know that you have everything that you need. And if you are doing a Shopify website, for instance, you may also need to add Shopify's liquid code. So it can be a little tricky if you can get great information, but this could really accelerate things for a programmer. And a lot of programmers are using this. So again, accelerating learning, researching, marketing, because you can write blogs, you can come up with ideas, you can do brainstorming. Content creation has become a lot easier, and this is a fantastic aid, and I would recommend that you try ChatGPT and find a way to use it to increase your learning, accelerate your learning, and just about anything you can do, whatever you do, there's probably a use that you could use this for that would help you in some way in your life. And I think in the future, it's going to be like during a certain time when you were growing up, you would say, well, we have to have a computer in our house for our kids. If we don't have a computer, my kids are going to fall behind. I think they're going to say the same thing with artificial intelligence and things like ChatGPT, that if you don't have this resource, you're going to be at a disadvantage. So I think it's going to only get smarter because more people are using it. So it's going to learn very, very quickly. And when you're getting answers, you can rate them up or down. You can say whether it's a good answer or a bad answer. And then if it's a bad answer, tell them why. And that's how it's going to become better. And with so many people using it, millions and millions of people, you're going to keep seeing it in the news every day. But it's going to make a huge impact on our lives. And it's going to really change the way a lot of things are done. It's going to really increase productivity in a lot of different ways. So it's going to make us smarter investors, smarter parents, smarter in a lot of ways. But we still need to use our own brains to judge the content that is coming out, to make sure that it is the right content and that we don't get off track and make important decisions relying on something that is automated. So we still have to use our own brains, but it can be a fabulous tool to help you move ahead more quickly in just about anything that you do. I hope this was helpful for you. Leave a comment, subscribe if you found it helpful. If there's something else you'd like to find out about it, feel free. I'm going to try to do some Shopify use cases in my next video for ChatGPT as soon as I get a chance. So there is a direct integration, I believe, with Shopify's Flow, where it can actually do product tags, and I believe product descriptions and things like that. And I know Shopify just rolled out an AI tool, and I don't know if it's linked into this, but I know they did have a link in Flow that I saw recently. So very exciting things happening. Subscribe to my channel, leave a comment. Thanks for tuning in.